Imagine this. You're on a snowy mountain, far from civilization. It's dark. The wind howls like a scream in your ear. The temperature is so cold it burns your skin. And suddenly, something terrifies you so much that you cut your way out of your own tent and run barefoot into the snow. That's not a movie. That's not a campfire story. That's real. It happened in 1959 to a group of young hikers in the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. Their story became one of the most disturbing, unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. And more than 60 years later, people are still asking, what really happened at Dyatlov Pass? Our story begins in January 1959 in the city of Sverdlovsk, deep in Soviet Russia. 10 young hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute were preparing for an ambitious expedition. They weren't amateurs. These were skilled mountaineers, tough and determined. For them, a journey through snow and freezing wind wasn't just survival. It was adventure. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, just 23 years old. Calm, intelligent, and highly respected among his peers, Igor was known for his determination and skill. The group trusted him completely. Alongside him were students and recent graduates, friends who shared the same passion for exploration. Their destination was a remote mountain called Otorten. In the local Mansi language, the word Otorten has an ominous meaning. Don't go there. Of course, the hikers didn't think much of that at the time. For them, it was simply a challenge, another summit to conquer. The plan was to ski and trek more than 300 kilometers through the Ural Mountains. The journey would take about 2 weeks. It was winter, the coldest season, with temperatures dropping as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius. Yet the group seemed excited. Their diaries and photographs from the first days of the trip show them smiling, joking, and full of energy. But fate made an early change. One of the hikers, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and had to turn back. It was disappointing for him, but it saved his life. Yuri would later say goodbye to his friends at a train stop, not knowing he would never see them again. The 9 remaining hikers continued forward into the vast, snowy wilderness of the Urals. From that point on, everything they did would lead them toward a mystery that still haunts the world today. When the hikers didn't return by their expected date of February 12th, their families began to worry. At first, people thought maybe the group was just delayed. After all, this was a dangerous trek. Delays weren't unusual, but as days passed with no word, concern turned into fear. A search and rescue mission was launched. Students, teachers, soldiers, and local hunters joined forces to comb the frozen wilderness of the Ural Mountains. The conditions were brutal, deep snow, blizzards, freezing winds. But after days of searching, they found something. On February 26th, rescuers stumbled upon the hikers' tent. At first glance, it was still standing, but a closer look revealed something chilling. The canvas had been slashed open from the inside. It was as if the hikers had cut their way out in a desperate hurry. Inside the tent, everything was left behind. Boots, jackets, gloves, food, survival gear, all the things you would need to endure the brutal cold were still there. It made no sense. Why would 9 experienced hikers run out into minus 30-degree weather without shoes or coats? Following the trail of footprints in the snow, rescuers discovered the first bodies. 2 hikers were lying beneath a large cedar tree, not far from a small fire they had built. They were dressed only in underwear, barefoot in the snow. Their hands were badly damaged, as if they had tried to climb the tree in a frantic attempt to escape something, or maybe to get a better view of whatever had scared them. A short distance away, 3 more bodies were found, including Igor Dyatlov himself. They were scattered in the snow, positioned as if they had been crawling back toward the tent, trying desperately to return, but never making it. But the final 4 hikers weren't found until months later, when the snow melted. Their discovery would only deepen the mystery and turn a tragic story into a chilling, unsolved puzzle. This is where the Dyatlov Pass incident stopped being a tragic hiking accident. And some of the hikers had injuries so severe, investigators compared them to the kind you'd see in a high-speed car crash. One had a fractured skull. 2 others had their ribs completely shattered, as though they had been crushed by an enormous, invisible force. And yet, there were no external wounds, no cuts, no bruises, no broken skin. It was as if something had destroyed them from the inside out. And then came the most horrifying discovery. One of the women, Lyudmila, was missing her tongue. Her eyes were gone too. Some officials tried to dismiss this as the work of scavenging animals after death, but others argued the wounds were far too clean, far too precise. Whatever happened, it only deepened the mystery. The strangeness didn't stop there. When investigators examined the clothing, they found traces of radiation. But none of these hikers worked with radioactive materials. They were students, engineers, mountaineers. Where could radiation have come from in the middle of the Ural wilderness? Then there was the way the hikers were dressed. Some were half naked, wearing only socks or underwear. Others were found wearing clothes taken from their dead friends. It suggested pure chaos. Imagine the scene. 9 skilled, trained hikers, people who knew the dangers of cold better than anyone, suddenly abandoning all logic, running barefoot into the snow, grabbing whatever scraps of clothing they could find along the way. It painted a picture of absolute terror. Something had forced them out of their tent. Something had driven them to flee into the freezing dark without shoes, without coats, without reason. But what could it have been? An avalanche? A human threat? Something far stranger? The deeper the investigation went, the fewer answers it produced. And that's why this tragedy still haunts us today. When Soviet authorities finished their investigation, families expected answers. They wanted to know what had happened to their children, their friends, but the official report only deepened the mystery. The cause of death was listed as, and I quote, a compelling natural force. That's it. No avalanche, no animal attack, no criminal involvement. Just those 3 vague words. A compelling natural force. It was almost insulting. How could such a vague phrase explain crushed ribs, missing eyes, radiation, and terrified hikers running barefoot into the snow? Some believe the authorities genuinely didn't know. Others think they knew more than they wanted to admit. After all, this was the Soviet Union in the late 1950s, a time when secrecy was the rule, not the exception. The case was quietly closed, and with that, the Dyatlov Pass incident passed from an official file into legend, becoming one of the strangest unsolved mysteries of all time. The most common explanation is simple: an avalanche. Perhaps a slab of snow fell on the tent, forcing the hikers to flee. But here's the problem. The slope where their tent was pitched wasn't steep enough to produce a deadly avalanche. And if it had been an avalanche, how could it explain the hikers wandering for hundreds of meters barefoot and half-dressed? How could it explain those crushing injuries? Some scientists suggest a phenomenon called Kármán vortex infrasound. Basically, certain wind patterns can produce sounds humans can't consciously hear, but that trigger extreme panic. Imagine being so terrified by a sound you can't even identify that you run into the freezing wilderness in terror. It's chilling to think this invisible force could drive highly trained hikers into such chaos. Then there's the theory of secret military involvement. Some claim the hikers stumbled upon secret weapons testing, maybe a bomb or some classified experiment. Supporters point to the radiation found on some of the clothes. Others say the extreme injuries could have been caused by a blast or sonic weapon. But no official evidence has ever confirmed this. Could a wild animal have been responsible? The problem is, there were no tracks other than the hikers' own. And the kind of injuries found on their bodies? Nothing in the animal kingdom matches that. Finally, the theories get stranger. UFO enthusiasts point to the radiation and bizarre injuries as evidence of alien involvement. Some even suggest supernatural forces, spirits, curses, or unknown entities of the forest. It sounds outlandish, but the sheer unexplainable nature of the incident keeps these ideas alive. The Dyatlov Pass incident didn't end when the investigation closed. Instead, it became a story that continues to haunt the world. Books, documentaries, podcasts, and movies have tried to retell the tragedy, but no explanation has ever truly satisfied the questions it raises. For the families, the pain never disappeared. They lost sons, daughters, and friends under circumstances no one could understand. For the rest of us, the story is a chilling reminder of how fragile life can be, and how little we sometimes know about the world around us. The site itself has become almost legendary. Every year, hikers and thrill-seekers venture to Dyatlov Pass, retracing the route, trying to feel what the hikers felt, or maybe hoping to uncover the truth. But the mountain doesn't give up its secrets easily. Snow, wind, and time have kept the answers buried, and perhaps that's part of its power. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved, mysterious, and terrifying. It challenges what we think we know about nature, human behavior, and the limits of survival. Every new theory sparks debate. Even decades later, the memory of those 9 hikers endures, their story frozen in time, waiting, perhaps, for the truth to finally be revealed. So what really happened on Dyatlov Pass? Was it an avalanche, a secret experiment, or something we can't even imagine? The truth may never be known. All we have are the frozen footprints in the snow, the abandoned tent, and the chilling mystery that continues to baffle experts, scientists, and adventurers alike. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.